we don't say, let's elect the iPhone to be president, right? So there's something about AI that is different from other technology that people are ascribing the superhuman potential to it that makes even this kind of idea a possibility. Hi everyone, we're here with Answering the Internet by Battery Ventures, where we address questions about AI that come from you, the Internet. I am Marcus Ryu. I am a partner at Battery after being co-founder and CEO of Guidewire Software for many years. And I'm pleased to be joined by Niken Patel, who is the founder CEO of Neuron7, a leader in service resolution intelligence. Shall we get started with the first one?
Yeah, it'll be fun. So here we go. Let's start with the first question that the internet has. Would you trust AI to run a country?
This is a pretty silly question, and my answer would be no, because running a country takes a lot of skills beyond just search and summarization. You need judgment, you need compassion, you need inspiration. I think the really interesting question to ask is why someone would think this is even a possibility. We don't say, let's elect the iPhone to be president, right? So there's something about AI that is different from other technology that people are ascribing the superhuman potential to it that makes even this kind of idea a possibility. What do you think?
There is people that are super skeptical about AI and others that are very optimistic. I think the movies have kind of influenced some of our thinking here, if you will. But I do think that if there was ever a possibility of AI running a country, it would have been with very, very disciplined set of citizens.
Let's go to the next one. Let's see. So a deleted user has asked, who do you feel should be legally held responsible if an AI initiates a crime? What are your thoughts?
I think the key word there is initiates a crime, right? And AI initiating a crime is, I think, a very, very far-fetched idea, right? If you look at where today AI is and the reality of where AI is, it is incredibly dependent on the data, on the benchmarking, and so on and so forth. There's like assumption of AI being Machiavellian. And I don't think that's where the reality of AI is at this point in time.
We actually have a pretty good legal framework for thinking about when you use a tool for bad purposes. And generally, it's the person who uses the tool that's held responsible, pretty straightforwardly. And there's some extreme cases where if you developed a poison that was only good for killing people, had no other purpose, then maybe you should bear some of the liability for it. But I think we have a very sophisticated legal framework that's been thinking about human creations being used for bad purposes for a long time. And I don't think AI is going to create any fundamental problems there.
How will artificial intelligence become a part of our daily lives in the next 10 years?
A superb question. It's transforming every facet of our experience right now. Digital media, our social interactions. But I think the most profound change from AI is that it's transforming the interface that we have with our technology. Right now there's all this impedance in order to use the tools that we have. You have to be authenticated, you have to log in, you have to know the syntax and the specific user metaphor in order to get the thing you want. And the extraordinary possibility that we're on the cusp of with agentic AI is that you can just use natural language to describe in human terms what you want your technology, your systems, your applications to do.
Yeah, I think we started the company 5 years ago, and if you just think about how much has changed in 5 years, it's incredible. So I'm super excited about what the 10 years hold. We obviously think a lot about the future because we're designing our products, we're looking at customers and stuff like that. If I think about B2C and B2B and break it down, I think B2C as consumers in our daily lives, I think it's going to be super transformative a lot more. Where, the thing that comes to mind is a Jarvis in the Iron Man movie, where you will have a personal AI doing a lot of stuff for you. And I think that's definitely a possibility as far as we can get through the privacy and people trust, their personal robots and stuff like that. B2B is where I think it's going to be even more interesting, but we don't know how it's going to turn out, in my opinion, because the LLMs and all the breakthroughs that we have are trained on data that is on the internet, that's publicly available and stuff like that, behind the firewall. where the business's true data exist, that is where we have not seen it work in a transformative way en masse. And that is going to be very interesting how that shapes up, right? Which is where, of course, Neuron7 and others play. But it is going to be incredible. It's going to be one of the best things to be part of. And we're lucky as a generation to be part of this next 10 years.
Yeah, I fully agree. Let's take the next one. So, a question from Reddit. How does it feel to be a member of the first species on this planet to be actively engineering your replacement species? Your thoughts?
Wow. That is a big one. That does put a lot of onus on the existing generation, I guess. I seriously, I think the human ingenuity, the human creativity, and the goodness of the human brain, the collective intelligence of us as a species, I think we should not underestimate it, right? I think we have gone through millions of years of evolution to come to the brain that exists today. And I genuinely feel you got to look at this positively. We are not going to go design something that is going to be completely rogue and takes over the humanity in the future. And I think what's going to happen is the first signs of something bad, some first signs of AI going out of control, the world will immediately go and rake things back.
Clearly, this reader comes from a kind of a highly imaginative science fiction kind of orientation, and I read nothing but science fiction as a kid. I would say I've always been more in the Isaac Asimov, iRobot Foundation kind of optimist side, as opposed to the Terminator, Skynet, end of humanity side. And the more you study history, you just recognize the whole story of our species has been overcoming the constraints of brute necessity and liberating ourselves from that through technology. And every technology is double-sided. Things that advance our way of life also, endanger the environment at times. We're not going to stop progress into nuclear fusion because it has potentially dangerous uses. That's our responsibility to take care of. But I think the fact that people have this misgiving should be taken seriously.
Yeah.
And it imposes a very heavy, I think, moral responsibility on the people that are doing this work, not only to do it ethically, but also to communicate their intentions.
Yeah. I think we don't need to be skeptical. We need to back ourselves a little bit here.
Yes, indeed. All right, next one.
Okay, what are the most common misconceptions about AI?
Lots of misconceptions. I would say, I think the biggest misconception is that AI today is capable of deep reasoning. I think it can do certain kinds of reasoning, but when it comes to metacognition, moral reasoning, and theory of mind, thinking about the contents of other conscious creatures and what they might be doing and what their intentions are, it's far, far off from that. One of the challenges of AI, I think, is because it has seemingly mastered this quality that we are so proud of as a species, the ability to use language, we then ascribe to it the ability to do all the other things that humans do. To be creative, to inspire, to come up with novel ideas, and these things are well beyond the capability of AI right now. But there's such a temptation because up until now, throughout our entire lives, the only thing that could speak like a human being was a human being. And so it's natural that now we encounter something that seemingly can speak, so we assume it's either a human or a superhuman.
But AI is still incredibly dependent on data, right? It will do what we as humans synthetically and naturally give it. And so I think we are ways away from it having tendencies and trying to mimic the human brain. I think AI is now at a point where the human brain is a huge misconception. I think AI going in and being as accurate as humans is a big misconception. And I think it's just people going in and going to the next few levels without understanding the basics.
Yep. Indeed. Next one. Dark Pepino asks us from Reddit, do you think that a roboticized communism can work? With a roboticized communism, I mean a society maintained by robots that are administered by the state.
Oh my God, Dark Pepino. I think the dark piece there is coming out. I don't think that a robotized communism can work. There is going to be other robots in that particular country or that particular society, but I don't think humans are going to be able to live in a society that is maintained by robots, governed by the state, because it's just the central existence of entire society based on a central nervous system that is just the state and governed by robots just seems like something that humans will never let happen.
I must agree with you, and I think that anyone who adopts communism as an ideal is not a very astute, or let's say even elementary student of history. No insult, Dark Pepino. But I'm one generation away from a communist society in North Korea. That's where my father came from. But the experience of the Soviet Union or communist China should say that whenever things start with those intentions, it always ends up crushing individual liberty and creating profound injustice. So whatever a future we might imagine and how it might, relieve some of the drudgery that it takes to live, the kind of modern life that we all enjoy, it should not be under that kind of model. That's the wrong ideal to look for. That's what I would say.
100%. Absolutely agree with you. All right, let's look at the next one. What do you feel a major breakthrough in AI will teach us, if anything, about our own humanity, the human condition, and what it means to be human?
I like this question. It's very poetically expressed. I think there's lots of ways to go with it, but I'll just focus on one. I studied philosophy as a graduate student, and I'll tell you, 25 years ago, the central question that everyone in philosophy was obsessed with, and is still the case today, is where do our minds come from? We know that our brains cause our minds, but we don't understand that connection. It's a profound mystery that's been, thought about for millennia. And if we're going to try to understand that deepest of questions, there's lots of different forms of exploration, but surely one of the most productive ones will be to see how far can we take this model? How far can we take this incredibly productive, transformer and essentially linear algebra-based approach to token prediction, and which now it does much more than that, and see how far can it lead us down answering this deepest of questions that our species has grappled with, since the ancients.
Yeah, I think if I look at what AI is going to teach us, I think it's going to amplify everything that we like about humans, right? If you look at, you have a best friend who's been with you for years, one look on your face and he knows exactly what's going on. That whole aspect of humans, the whole creative thinking that created what's come to be AI today, I think we're going to start appreciating a lot more. I think we're going to go differentiate, just like today when there is a video that's created by an AI avatar versus not, and you can immediately tell, right? We will be able to, as humans, go in and look at everything around us and very clearly say this was a human aspect and this is something that's technology or a robot or an AI based. And I think we're going to start appreciating human emotions and stuff a lot more as we get more advanced here.
Yeah, I think that's a deep point. Some of these unique human endowments of humor, of creativity, of expression, of emotion, maybe there's a chance that we will be heightened in our appreciation of these because we recognize the limitations of what a machine can do, right? And it can relieve us of all kinds of drudgery, including calculations and maybe getting our car started and paying our bills, but it won't be able to access some of those qualities that we prize so highly and are so fundamental to our appreciation of ourselves. And so I think that's one optimistic way to think about what's possible.
I'll just go further and say, I can see a future where enterprises now distinguish and differentiate themselves based on the human side.
It's kind of the same way like mass production. It's such a great thing that we all have access to all of these cheaply made goods, but then it increasingly enhances our appreciation when you have artisanal creation by a human being, right? And so I think that I would love to see that happen.
Yeah, it's going to come up full circle.
Let's see. So I have no idea how to pronounce this user from Reddit, but he or she asks, how do you feel about the fact that the vast majority of people anthropomorphize AI? A lot of people want to compare any intelligence with human intelligence, and isn't that a bit reductive?
It's very easy for people to say, this is exactly like humans. I think the first time I looked at the ChatGPT interface, or I look at some of the Amazon predictions, I was like, wow, this is incredible. It shows me a blue unicorn in San Jose jumping on a rainbow, and it basically writes an entire essay for me. And what I can't do better than this. I feel a vast majority of people are going there because of where the technology is today. But the overall education on AI is going to rise, right? As more and more people get exposed to it, we look at it more and more in life. I think where we are today, even the questions from our customers where they were 2 years ago versus where they are today, and I think where it's going to be 2 years down the road, is going to be very, very different.
I certainly agree with all that. With respect to anthropomorphizing, there's a positive side to that, which is, modern life can be lonely, and to be able to find some aspects of companionship and interaction with a human-like or conscious-like interlocutor, I think is a good thing, and maybe relieves the amount of loneliness and estrangement or feeling misunderstood in the world. But I think there's a dark side, and if there's one thing that I really worry about with AI, it's not the Skynet scenario of taking over the world. It's just making it very easy to create disinformation. Yeah. That's the one really, really heavy price that we're going to pay. And disinformation is dangerous because it destroys our civil society. It makes democracy a lot more challenging. And I think that more than some of these science fiction scenarios, this is a near and present danger. We're living in it right now. And I think it's incumbent on anyone in this AI ecosystem, VCs, entrepreneurs, researchers, to think seriously about how to mitigate that effect.
Why can't humanity simply stop developing more AI? We all know it's a potential threat to humanity, as many experts have said. So what is so difficult about simply stopping developing it?
Yeah, I think I just disagree, and I'm almost sure that you would say the same, Niken. I just disagree with the premise here that this is something that we should consider stopping. You cannot stop the march of human progress, of ingenuity, of experimentation, of pushing the boundaries. That's as fundamental to our species as being conscious. And AI is one of the most kind of fertile and productive areas for addressing some of the deepest problems we have. So yes, there are threats. Every single technology ever developed, from the spear and fire to nuclear fission, has been two-sided, but there's no stopping it, and I think it's the wrong, overly pessimistic perspective to think that that's what we ought to do, because we imagine the worst that can happen.
Yeah, no, 100%. There is no stopping progress. Computers and internet. What if somebody had said all of the bad things that they can do, taking jobs away, and that's why we should stop? Well, so I think that it's a frivolous argument from that perspective. But I think there is a tremendous amount of productivity gain that is coming our way as human race, both in the enterprise and personally. And I think that is what's going to really help the world move forward and take care of all of these different things, right?
When you look at the whole span of human history, Homo sapiens have been around like somewhere around 250,000, 300,000 years. In 99.999% of that time, the average human lived at subsistence. So, if you were born in 1700, your life you would have about the same kind of endowment, the same number of calories per day as like a Stone Age hunter-gatherer, right? And all of that blasted off once we started to really be able to harness, the natural assets and be able to make machines that could make other machines and so forth. And so to slow that down is in a way to long for a past when we had nothing, and when we lived just essentially as brute animals. And I think it's important to remember that at the times that we romanticize.
I think this is going to be, health, personal, enterprise. It's going to be our generation's best contribution to humankind, and there's no way to stop it.
Yes, let us hope. Next, from Darksword X on Reddit. How would you explain what humor is to an AI or an alien that has no prior notion of it?
So I'm going to go controversial here and say, this particular quality I want to keep for humans. I do not want to have this explained to AI ever.
I think it seems like a frivolous question, but I think it's a deep one. What is humor? It's very hard to explain. And there's a kind of first-person experience of humor, like this joke is really funny. And then you try to explain it to someone, and of course that drains the humor entirely, right? So there's something about humor that's really closely tied to subjectivity, to having a first-person conscious experience. And so I don't know if it could be explained to an AI. I think I for one would be very disappointed if it's just patterns, and you can just you just copy enough patterns together and stochastically develop funny jokes, that would be a disappointment to me. I kind of, that's the one place where I'm rooting against AI, kind of like you.
I think we should basically go in and say, I'm okay with regulation against AI learning humor.
Yeah. After the disinformation, we'll stop the humor.
Awesome. How do you think advancements in AI will reshape our understanding of creativity?
Another great question. I think right now AI is pretty terrible at creativity. Like it's amazing that it can write a poem or a limerick, but it's a bad poem. It can't design a board game. AI-generated music is terrible. AI images are ugly. That may change with Sora and others. But so right now, I think creativity, that's definitely humanity 1, AI 0 at this point. And I, for one, again, similar to what we just said, I'd love to see AI make it a lot easier to be a creative person, relieve some of the drudgery, maybe harness that vast universe of data and past expression, to find, to kind of like thin the search a little bit and make it easier to be creative.
But it's not really as creative. But from a productivity perspective, amazing, right? From a true creativity perspective, I don't think that's where AI is.
Yep.
Next one. Age of rationalism. What, if any, is the fundamental difference between our most advanced AI and the most rudimentary organic brains?
Well, the most obvious difference is that our brains evolved after a process of natural selection over 4.5 billion years, without any design or intention behind it, whereas AI, was very intentionally designed over the last, depending how you measure, 30 to 50 years. So that's a pretty fundamental difference. Can you generate a mind, a conscious mind, out of just an artificial means? And there's a school of philosophy that says it's impossible. We don't understand how our organic brains generate minds, generate consciousness, and there's no amount of symbol manipulation. Whether you're doing quadrillions or sextillion linear algebra calculations, ultimately those cannot possibly generate. You can't get there from here. You can't generate a mind out of that. Others say, no, that's not the same. And
yeah, I think the organic human brain is way more complex, right? Creativity, emotions, context. We have incredible amount of context as soon as our environment changes, right?
Is the consensus that ChatGPT is conscious, like it feels things?
Absolutely not.
It's
way away from there.
If there's a consensus, it is surely that it is not.
And I don't think anybody, including the founders of ChatGPT, would even imagine or think that. What is the coolest or the most interesting new thing that AIs are doing now or are about to start doing?
For me, it's very obvious. It's the agentic possibilities. So it's from when an AI is just where the output of an AI is not just information or summarization, but where it is actually issuing commands to other systems. And I just think that unlocks a vast world of possibility and productivity, where you just have a natural language interface that can just make things happen. Gets the data from the relevant system and puts it to the other relevant system, sends the communication, interprets the result, handles all of these low-level, incredibly tedious workflows that are part of our personal and professional lives. I think that is amazing, and I can't wait.
What I'm excited about is our world today on the enterprise side has systems of records, right? You have CRM systems and ERP systems and accounting systems and so on and so forth. I think the future is going to have systems of intelligence that augment the systems of records. And I think that is going to unlock incredible amount of productivity.
Well, we dispatched those questions, I think, entirely. Any final thoughts, Niken?
No, this has been a lot of fun, and like I said, I think it's a great ride to be on along with you guys, and we'll see how we can change the world together.
Well, that's it for us on Answering the Internet by Battery Ventures. Also check out our Substack, Condensing the Cloud. You'll find a link in the bio. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.